Hey everyone, this is Jennifer Beamer, owner-operator of Actually Dyed Art by Science, and this is Fiber Talk episode 10, and today we're going to be talking about Castlemilk Moorit sheep. Welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about Castlemilk Moorit, and I get a lot of my initial inspiration and research from the Fleece and Fiber Source book, and the Castlemilk Moorit sheep is actually a blend of Shetland Moorit sheep and Manx Lotan, something like that. I've heard this pronounced several times and I still struggle with it. But it was produced in the late 1800s up in Scotland, and it was mostly a sheep known for the milk production and also for how they looked out in the pasturage, but they do have a really nice fleece. Now, an interesting point that I found when I was researching this again, because I read this a few years ago, and then I remembered from having read it to try this out when I did get an opportunity to buy a fleece. So I bought a fleece, and unfortunately I didn't do anything really organized, like take any measurements or reserve some of the unwashed locks for future reference. Shame on me. But I would say that in my sample, I really, really liked using it. In fact, here is my sample. And it was very easy to spin. It didn't really have much in the way of lanolin. And so I decided that this is what I was going to use actually for my 2019 New Year's resolution, to spin enough yarn to actually make a sweater, or as they call them in Britain, jumpers. I've also got a sample here of the Manx, and you can see from just how it looks roughly how similar they actually look. In terms of how they feel, they're definitely not the same. I'll elaborate more on this later, but my initial reaction to Castlemilk Moorit was it would be a really great medium fleece for people who might have sensitivities against sort of scratchier wools. But because it's such a light and springy lock, you don't have to spin it very tightly. And that's really key, because if you spin something very tightly, you compact the fibers and it sort of increases its prickle factor. So if you want something that's going to reduce those elements, there are ways that you can spin it so that it doesn't have that effect as pronounced, or you can choose different fleece or different areas on the same animal that will produce something slightly softer. So when I was spinning this, I actually found I didn't need to have a lot of twists per inch or twists per centimeter to have a nice sturdy yarn. So in that way, you get a sort of a hard-wearing, medium soft wool that will be good for people who sort of fit into that kind of category where they only wear soft wool because it's not scratchy and it doesn't irritate their skin. So I think for that, it's probably a really good fleece, and because it's relatively unknown, I did get a very good price on it. So if you're looking to make a bunch of outerwear for the family, you could probably buy a fleece and easy peasy get a lot of utility out of that single fleece. I don't know what the distribution is in the States. That you'll have to look at a little bit more in depth, but for Britain, you do find them. They are still somewhat of a rare breed. I don't know if it's still considered a critical conservation breed. I think this book was published around 2010 or 2012. but I did buy it from a rare breeder. So I don't, sorry, a rare breeds breeder. So I don't know how easy it will be to actually obtain one of these fleeces. I do have some of this still. So those are some of the characteristics of the fleece that I noted in particular, but there are also some other bits in the book that talk about the staple length and the characteristics. It is a fleece you can dye. However, and I know that's not going to show up very well here, but I will post some videos, or sorry, some photos. But I dyed this one green because the locks are sort of a general brown and the tips are sort of lighter brown. So that lighter brown area will dye a little bit more than the overall lock. But generally colored fleeces won't take dye superbly. So there's that aspect. And if it's already brown, you're not going to be able to over dye the brown with, say, pink and have it come out pink. It's going to be more of a muddier brown at the end. So take care whenever you are dyeing it that you have to decide which colors are going to go really well with the brown. However, even after having dyed it, it didn't really take the green as intensely as the minks that I have took dye. And I'm not sure exactly why that was, because I usually use the same parameters each time because I've been doing this method for almost a decade. So it could just be a natural characteristic of the actual lock structure, or the individual fibers. Even within wools, there are some wools that will take dye superbly, others will do it, but it won't have that nice crisp color that you're looking for. So if you like a medium brown, just stick with it as a natural color and highlight that particular feature. But do know that you can play around a little bit with adding the natural color with an over dye so that you can get more variety besides just brown. So there's that. Now my thoughts on the spinning process. I carded everything by hand. I spun about, I think it's not quite a pound, so it was like 14.8 ounces that I carded and spun. And the carding was actually very, very quick. I didn't have any issues with getting little bits of fiber or little bits of debris out of the fiber as I was going. I carded everything into Rolex and I spun it sort of semi-woolen. So I did a short forward draw with this. The spinning of it was actually very, very easy and quick. Plying it, I think I only took a couple of hours to ply the whole lot, and the finished result was just shy of 750 yards. So it's kind of a worsted bulky 2-ply. Unfortunately, I don't really like it. And I think this comes down to being able to actually choose the fleece. Now, because it's not really used for its fleece, it's not really going to have that aspect enhanced. So this particular animal, I can't say anything super specific, but I can say that according to what I've read, which says that it's quite a pleasure to spin and it can be very, very soft, mine wasn't. So by the time I was finished spinning this, I was done, and I still have doubts about what I want to actually use this skein for. It does feel soft, and because I spun it so that I could enhance that fluff, that loft, it doesn't have a prickle factor, at least not for me. I don't have sensitivities, but at the same time, this particular fleece and this particular animal I thought wasn't as soft as Castlemilk Moorit can be. So if you are in the market and you can see one in person, definitely give it a look over. If the person who's selling it to you is open to the idea of you opening it up and taking out locks from a few places and spinning them up, I highly recommend it. Now, at the end of the day, I didn't spend that much on this fleece, and it really allowed me the opportunity to kind of test out a variety of rare breeds. And unfortunately, I probably won't buy from this particular seller again. I will try to find other breeders that happen to have Castlemilk Moorit sheep elsewhere. So yeah, cautionary tale. Every time I do these fiber talk videos, I think everything is amazing, but everything is amazing to a point. So I will probably still use this for something, and it's good yarn. It's not going to fall apart anytime soon. In fact, whatever I make from it will probably last a very, very long time. So in that regard, it's not a lost investment of time. It's just my expectations weren't quite the same, and sometimes it happens. Will I buy Castlemilk Moorit again in the future? Yes, but I will be a lot more discerning when I do that. So, in a future video, I will review a couple of sisters. So, like I said, this is the Castlemilk Moorit sample that I initially spun, and this is the Manx, which is a relative, and in terms of bloodline ancestry, to the Castlemilk Moorit. And I'm much happier with this. And I will go into a future video discussing those differences. Now, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have some follow-up questions, or if you want to give me feedback, or if you know a breeder in the UK that sells whole fleeces of Castlemilk Moorit that you think I should give a try, please let me know as well, because when I get in new fleeces, I want to also be the quality control so that I can send those on. I probably will have some of this available in the shop, but they're kind of small fleeces. It says here 2 to 3 pounds, so we'll see how much actually will make it into the shop when all is said and done. And if you have any feedback about future videos, if you have suggestions, please put those in the comments as well. I will take a look and populate a list of videos on demand requests. And if you have tried Castlemilk Moorit and have had the same experience, a different one, a worse one, I hope not, feel free to share that in the comments as well. As always, thanks for watching. Bye!